opportunity for Q&A. So for the audience, please post your questions using the chat function. With that, let's turn it over to Jemiah. So Jemiah, I've read a little bit about your organization, and that smile is just lights up a room. So it's nice to be live with you.
You too.
But I'll say that I've been really inspired by your story, and my husband and I are hopefully in the process of becoming dads, and just the way in which you got inspired to start this work. I'd love if you don't mind just commenting about that, and then we'll turn it over to you to take it away. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much. And James, the truth is everyone cares about their kids, and even those of us that don't have kids care about ourselves as though we are the child we're raising. So when we have the opportunity to care for our children in the right ways, we want to take that. I had a daughter who was coming 3 years ago. She's almost 3, and I just couldn't imagine giving her food that was unhealthy, given the busy nature of our lives, kind of hustling between office and business and life. And it just dawned on me it'd be more efficient if I could grow food at home. That turned into more awareness of finding the most nutrient-rich foods, finding lower costs food options, and frankly, more interesting food varieties than you can even find in the store.
Well, it's great just to hear a little bit about what inspired you. But we'd love to just hear more from you, and we'll turn it over to you so you can share with the audience more about your vision and where you think you'd love to head with My LA 2050.
Thank you so much. And thank everyone who's helped us get here so far, especially the volunteers and those who have been working with us long-term for about 2 years now. We began as a backyard crop swap, getting gardeners nearby together to share their extra goodies. We've opened the West Adams Farmers Market, which is still operating even under COVID over at Western and Adams. And we've been giving away fruit that we pick from people's backyards, like their trees, to organizations that need them at the time, whether they're serving veterans, serving recently homeless folks, or serving folks who are single parents. So what we do is we've been finding opportunities to share food like CSA boxes with the community. But through My LA 2050, our goal is to convert front yards into high value and highly productive vegetable gardens. We have partnerships in line and staff ready to go to convert front yards into what we're calling, excuse me, regenerative organic. And that is the idea that we're going to take the land and make it better as we create food. It'll taste better, it'll be more affordable. And what we're doing is we're going to share a portion of what we earn in the market with the residents that we agree to work with. So they'll earn a portion of money every month and every year based on what we're selling the food for. So not only does it create a high nutrient dense locally sourced food, it creates locally sourced jobs and green jobs training for folks nearby. It also creates an opportunity for resilience against the economic winds that we all face. And that is oftentimes in the form of gentrification. It could be in the form of rising food costs, or in the form of other political or social oppression. And by having residents with a new form of income through this method, it creates a sustainable relationship that CropSwap LA can have with them and our partners on the other end. So we're really excited right now as finalists. We can do one garden. We're really excited about that to sustain it for a whole year. But you know that if you vote for us and if we were able to get $100,000, we'll be able to do 15 gardens. And on 15 gardens, we have the street selected already in our minds. We're ready to talk to folks. We imagine that this creates a new world where you can walk up and down the street holding hands with your lovers and smelling the new scents and butterflies, bees buzzing around, the love and nature and songs that come with it. We imagine that we'll be able to sell food that's locally sourced and delicious, those that are indigenous varieties, seeds that are not GMOs, food that is not tainted with pesticides. None of that needs to be in your diet or on your plate. So we're really excited to have your support. We believe this is a movement. We're not ending here. We're doing other activities in the background as well. LA 2050 is one of our sources of getting action happening, and you yourselves as voters are the second. So thank you so much.
Jemiah, thanks for that. And I like I said at the beginning, that smile really does. It just, I can see it. I can feel your energy, even as we're living in this new world of doing everything via Zoom and things like that. But I want to see that street one day, and I want to walk down that street of those 15 gardens. And so thanks for what you're doing. It's really important and definitely helps contribute to a better Los Angeles. So we will say goodbye for now, but we'll see you at the end during the Q&A session.
Thank
Um,
you.
Thanks, Jemiah. And with that, would love to welcome Dr. Angela Parker from the Genesee Center to come on with us. Good morning.
Hi, good
Hi, Angela.
morning.
Great to see
Hi,
you.
thank
Um,
you.
so I was doing a little bit of research, and I was reading about Genesee and then watching some videos. And then all of a sudden, there's somebody who was a very familiar face who I saw advocating for Genesee Center. So before you go into your pitch, would you just mind sharing with us a little bit about the wonderful Miss Halle Berry and how she became such a big fan of Genesee?
Sure, it'd be my pleasure. So, nearly, I think 20 years ago, Miss Berry was looking for an organization to support, and it was our luck that she chose Genesee Center. She has a real heart for women and for children and for really transforming communities. And it was really kind of a perfect match because, a lot of celebrities, they just want to lend their names to organizations and they don't really want to do the work. And she was someone who really literally came in and rolled up her sleeves and came in and painted and interacted with the clients and just really connected to what it is that we're doing. I don't think that we could have even like created in our imagination a better ambassador who really gets what it is that we're trying to do, which is not just to provide shelter, because that's only part of what Genesee does, but really to be a transformative organization in our community in which we ensure that people have peace in their own homes.
It's great to see, and it's great to see people with power using it
Mhm.
for really something good. And the work that you all are doing there is fantastic. And um, in some ways, it's unfortunate that it's needed, but it's needed
Mhm.
nonetheless. And so, with that, we'd just love for you to share with us a little bit more about your vision, and we'll turn it over to you.
Well, great. First of all, thank you so much for having me and for giving me the opportunity to talk about an organization that heals families and connects communities. Genesee Center was founded to create a way out of no way. 40 years ago, five Black women who really understood that domestic violence was slowly destroying their communities came together to give Black women not only a safe haven, but a chance to live the life that they had always dreamed of. Chances are you know someone who is a victim of domestic violence. Statistics show that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 7 men have experienced some type of abuse. And while domestic violence has devastating effects on everyone who experiences it, our clients tend to have unique needs. South LA, in which we are located, has one of the highest incident reports of domestic violence. In fact, as an organization, we directly impact about 1,900 clients and families per year through our residential and drop-in services, and about 2,500 community members through our outreach and education efforts. And that's actually on the low end. Genesee has always been a trailblazing organization. We're the oldest domestic violence intervention program in South LA. We were founded by Black women to service Black women. We accept male clients. We also house teenage boys. Many organizations have a cutoff at the age of like 10 or 12, but we know even if your son is like 6'5", you're not going to leave him in a dangerous situation. We are also able to house large families. Many of our clients will come to us with children, 5 children, 7 children, and a lot of shelters cannot house them. We can. And to that end, the majority of our clients are actually children. So we understood very early on that children are equal victims of domestic violence, and that we had an opportunity to reach them now while they were in our shelter so that they did not grow up to be in domestic violence relationships or to become abusers themselves. Now, families can stay with us for up to 2 years, and that allows us to provide them with programs and services that go beyond shelter walls. And so, one of the things that we do is that we help our families overcome barriers in access to services through mental health classes, vocational education, anger management. We are able to ensure that our clients have free legal services and that they have a pathway to affordable housing. In fact, 75% of our clients who complete our program report that they can create a stable life for themselves and their families. They feel that they have the life skills that they need to live on their own, and most importantly, not to return to a domestic violence relationship. And 95% of them have achieved permanent housing. But make no mistake, as life changing as our shelters are, our programs, we have no desire to build more shelters. So while we understand that domestic violence will always be with us, we do a lot of prevention work, particularly with youth, that ensure that they never get to the point where they have to come to shelter because they were educated on how to recognize toxic relationships and they learned what they needed to not get that. And so we're asking everyone to please vote for Genesee Center and to please help us stand in the gap of a community that has historically not had the chance to break the generational cycles of poverty, violence, and neglect. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. It's just really great to hear that passion. And I love the way that you started and really the way that Genesee started with this idea of creating a way out of no way. And I think, especially now as we've all been spending more time at home, probably more than so many of us have ever spent, the idea of thinking that our home environment is a place that's not safe for us or for our children and loved ones, it's heartbreaking. And so thinking about the ways in which not only you're doing that work, but just how open you are to men and young boys, and just thinking about the whole community and the family, I'm really inspired by that work. And I can certainly see why Miss Halle Berry is also inspired by your work.
Well, thank you so much.
Yes, so thank you. So we'll see you in just a little bit during the Q&A session. So thank you. And with that, would like to welcome Emily Cantrim from Safe Parking LA. Welcome, Emily. So Emily, you may not recall this, but I believe we met actually a few years ago outside of City Hall. We were in line, we were at some event, and you started telling me about your organization and what you were doing. And we were talking about homelessness and this idea of taking parking lots and providing a safe place for people who have fallen into hard times, fallen into hopefully what was a temporary state of homelessness, but just needed a place. I remember that conversation distinctly. You may not remember it because I'm sure you talked to a lot of people, but I certainly remember it. So I was really excited to see you as one of our 5 finalists in this category. But with that, we'd just love to turn it over to you and tell us what you've been up to and where you see things going forward.
Sure. Well, thank you so much. That definitely does sound like me somewhere at City Hall talking about publicly owned space and how we really need to activate everything for this moment that we've been in, but maybe not acknowledged, and the severity that we need to acknowledge it. Thank you so much, James, and thank you to LA2050 and the team at Social Venture Partners LA. So at its core, the concept of safe parking is that there is a place to park and sleep in your vehicle overnight. It's acknowledging that, acknowledging and providing sanitation and safety as basic needs, and crucially, connecting to services to resolve the housing crisis for that person. So if that's the concept of safe parking, what's Safe Parking LA? Safe Parking LA was founded 3 years ago. There were only 10 safe parking spaces across the entire county. So that means only 10 vehicles. could be enrolled in the program at any given time. And there was no identified pathway to create more. Safe Parking LA, in launching as a direct service provider, we also really advocated for the concept of safe parking, and demystifying it for our stakeholders and for other service providers became a major goal of ours. Now, safe parking as a concept is funded publicly annually through city and county funding, and is now a recognized way to address homelessness in Los Angeles. The first night that an Angelino becomes homeless, they will sleep in their vehicle if they have one. And it's important for anyone falling into homelessness to know that there is a safe and legal way to stabilize and connect to services, and what that means for them in their neighborhood and how that is relevant to their Los Angeles experience. Emphasizing early stabilization is an important aspect of addressing homelessness, and supporting and protecting people and preventing them from losing their vehicle and becoming homeless on the street. So your vote for Safe Parking LA helps to launch a comprehensive neighbor-to-neighbor volunteer program, and that will harness the existing structure that the City of Los Angeles, the neighborhood council system, and the grassroots nature of community coalitions already have. This Neighbors for Home initiative builds off of the work started by some of our very first Safe Parking LA volunteers, who are our founders. Your vote helps Safe Parking LA build a community with volunteers and safe parking clients, even at a time when the coronavirus pandemic really limits our ability to work in traditional ways. We've always been innovative and nimble, and certainly right now is a time that we have the ability to rise to the occasion. So we've done the work to show that safe parking addresses homelessness in your neighborhood, and now let's build that community embrace across LA with Neighbors for Home.
Thanks, Emily. So I know you all can't see this, but I'm taking some notes here. And one thing I started to write was there were only 10 parking lots originally where this could happen. And then I crossed out the word lots and wrote spaces. It's amazing to think about, given the challenges that we're having here in Los Angeles with homelessness, you know, what we started with and where we're at now, and where we can head, you know, with you all leading us in that direction. So really appreciate your work on behalf of the many people who have fallen on hard times and need that safe place. And it's a resource that we have available to us. So thank you for all you do and that great work. We will see you in just a little while during the Q&A session. So thank you. Emily, great to hear from you. And with that, we'd like to welcome Maria Patino Gutierrez. Maria, there you are. So Maria is with Strategic Actions for a Just Economy, or SAGE, SAGEC in Spanish. Maria has a great photo backdrop, and you can see some of the work that she's been doing. Tener un techo es un derecho.
Or housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right. So not only, Maria, I just did a little quick search and found that not only are you sharing your knowledge and your work here locally, but I also understand that you have been able to share that in a more global perspective with a recent trip to Japan. Any quick comment you can share on that?
Actually, yes. So about a year ago exactly, I had the opportunity to travel with as well, so as a SAGE member, to Japan with a delegation with the No Olympics organization, or organizing team, because it was a year to the date of when the Olympics were supposed to be, which is, I believe, this week. And specifically because SAGE, we're located in South LA, about a couple blocks away from the Coliseum, and we have seen the impacts of plans such as for the Olympics, of developments that are arising or that are with the intention to support or to be intended for tourists. So while yes, we understand a lot of people enjoy sports, people are fanatics of teams, and it brings a lot of pride in our cities. We also have to understand that developments and intended for tourism also affects in the long term. And there's a lot of history about the 1984 Olympics, how it affected LA City. So I had a really great opportunity to network with people over there to meet, and we actually were able to meet people from Korea as well who
That's
shared their
great.
experience. Mhm.
Well, it's great to just hear what you're doing on not only a local but a global stage, and would love to hear more about what you're doing here locally in LA. So why don't we turn it over to you to give us more information and tell us more about your vision.
Yes. Okay. So while physical spaces are closed, it's more important than ever for us to create tools for families and tenants living in the approximately 1.9 million rental units in LA County to learn about the emergency protections enacted and to enforce their rights from the comfort of their homes. Accessible multilingual online resources are essential to making critical services available to the people who need them the most. In rapid response to the current crisis, Sage has adapted to hosting Facebook Live webinars two times a week, English and Spanish, since the day the stay-at-home orders began. To this day, our over 40 webinars have reached a total of 18,000 tenants. And we have also supported over 230 tenants through our one-on-one case management and leadership development just in the past 3-4 months. Sage currently has a hotline Tuesdays 4 to 7 and Thursdays 10 to 1. So call us 213-745-9961 to learn about your rights, and you can always leave us a voicemail. So as a way to support and inform tenants during the newly enacted emergency protections, on April 1st, Sage and JustFix.nyc launched norent.org, an online tool accessible via sage.net/norent, which has helped over 350 tenants throughout LA County protect themselves from unlawful detainers. Sorry, I lost due to unlawful evictions due to inability to pay rent by supporting tenants in writing and sending an online letter to their landlord. Notification to a landlord of the inability to pay rent during the pandemic is the first step for tenants to be able to protect themselves against an eviction. Additionally, our partners at justfix.nyc launched the national norent.org website, which has produced over 1,500 letters by tenants who are unable to pay rent due to loss of income nationwide. We've also made our legally vetted templates available in over 5 languages. However, due to limited resources, we were not able to make the tool available in all the 5 languages. The tool is available in English and Spanish, but with additional funding, this could be something that could be achieved, for example. One of our original proposals when we submitted our application was for Sage and JustFix.nyc to create a tool to support the LA County Eviction Defense Program, which has been a campaign of the Right to Counsel Coalition. And the Right to Counsel Coalition includes tenant rights organizations and legal service providers who are advocating for a codified right to counsel. But due to the budget shift of the pandemic, the county has replaced the original program with a short-term emergency eviction prevention program. And various tenants' rights of the Right to Counsel Coalition, including Sage, are currently onboarding new staff to roll out a plan for outreach to tenants in the county. And a recent study found that over 120,000 households are at very high risk of not only being evicted, but also becoming homeless within a few months after the day that the current emergency eviction preventions are lifted. That's why new tools for tenants to protect against displacement remain critically necessary. And as the emergency tenant protections are set to expire in the coming weeks, Sage and Just Fix need your vote to be able to create new tools for tenants to protect against displacement. And we need your help to achieve our goal. Thank you.
Nadia, thank you so much. Great to hear more about the work that you're doing here locally, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you during the Q&A session. And with that, we'd like to invite Carlos Vacarano to turn your camera on. We're welcoming Carlos, who is the Executive Director of Clínica Monseñor Romero. Carlos, we met a few years ago and you were in a different role, but I think what's definitely been true along the way is your just commitment to the community and thinking about all the needs from a variety of different perspectives. And so it's great to see the work that you're doing. Would just love to hear more about some of the work that you're doing and how you think My LA2050 can help accelerate some of that work, especially in light of what's been happening over the last couple of months with COVID-19. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Carlos, so we can hear a little bit more from you.
Thank you, James. And it's always good to see you. It's been a while, but I hope that your family is safe and healthy. And thank you, everybody. Just want to share a little bit about Clinical Monsignor Romero. We've been in existence since 1984. Clinica Romero was established, and we named Clinica Romero after Monsignor Romero, who now is a saint. Why we named Clinica Romero after Monsignor Romero? Because he died for the poor. He became the voice of the voiceless, and that's what Clinica Romero is all about: helping the poor, helping the underserved, helping the uninsured. Since the beginning, Clinica Romero has served thousands and thousands of patients. Many of those are undocumented. About 5,000 of those patients, of the 12,000 patients that we serve, are undocumented. Folks that don't have any way to receive medical care. We firmly believe that healthcare is a human right, and we do that every day. We practice that every day in both clinics. Before the pandemic, Clinica Romero was working very hard, advocating for the rights of all these undocumented communities who's being affected by the current policies of the White House. You have a lot of folks that don't come to Clinica because they are afraid to request a service. Even then, Clinica Romero has been reaching out to all of them. But after the pandemic, we have seen a really big impact on our communities, especially Pico Union and Westlake. Out of the over 137,000 patients that are positive, 3,468 are from Pico Union and Boyle Heights. Can you imagine? 72 people have died in Pico Union Westlake and 37 in Boyle Heights. That's a lot. Those are two very densely populated communities. About 90% of our patients are undocumented. And we also have about 1,500 patients that are homeless. So Clinica Romero has become the community clinic that serve this community. A lot of these patients are dying in their homes. We actually had 2 cases of patients of Clinica Romero that have died in their homes because they don't have a place to go. So can you imagine living under those conditions? A lot of these patients, people wonder, why are these folks walking around? Well, they don't have a place to go. They live in apartments with 10 to 15 people. They share those very busy places. And that's what Clinica Romero does. We educate our patients about staying at home, and we provide food. And with the money that we receive, we will be able to launch our telehealth services and support all these 12,000 patients, so they don't have to come to Clinica, and we will save lives. Over 400 people will be impacted. We will be able to deliver medicine to their homes. So I hope, and our all staff at Clinica Romero are hoping that we can come on your board so we can continue providing vital services and continue saving lives by providing telehealth services to all the patients in Pico Union and Westlake. Thank you so much.
Carlos, thank you. So one of the things you may not have known that I know about you is that you are one of 11 siblings, and so is my father. And so it's an interesting, way to grow up. And I grew up with a lot of family members, but a lot of the things that you're talking about have affected people in my family. So it's close to home, and I appreciate the work that you're doing. So Carlos, with that, I hope you'll give me just a moment to ask the rest of the presenters to turn your cameras back on. And we'll give everybody just a moment. And while we're doing that, we're moving into our Q&A session. And Jemiah, if you are back and can hear me, there you are. Perfect. So if we can just keep in mind, I'll give you the order in which I'm going to ask you questions. We do have questions for each of you. Going to ask that you can please, just out of respect to your fellow presenters. Make sure you're answering the question, but try to keep it as concise as you can to give everybody an opportunity to speak. And so we will go in the reverse order. So we'll go Carlos and then Maria. So Carlos, we'll start with you. Can you tell us a little bit about how your employees are coping with COVID-19 and just give us a sense of how this is affecting your team?
Well, definitely we are an essential service organization. We are a community health center. So can you imagine, we just gotta be there. So there is a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress. Even with some of us that are working from home, I'm very happy and blessed that I have the opportunity to work from home when I have to go and to both sides and check and talk to my colleagues. I can see how afraid they are every day. I just can share with you that at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the big challenges that we faced was PPE. We didn't have enough protection. And that's, even for us, for our team. And then we were getting a lot of requests for testing, and we just couldn't do it because we were not equipped. And that was the challenge that a lot of community clinics and hospitals were having. So every day we get, patients come to our clinic, we do the testing, and there's always one or two who get positive. Pico, Westlake, and Boyle Heights are one of the two most affected communities in Los Angeles. I shared the numbers with you. About 72 people have died in Pico, West. It's a very densely popular area. That's a lot. That's so big because a lot of our patients and some of our employees live there. So can you imagine they have to take the bus? And even just coming to Clinica Romero, they are afraid. And I think that's the life that we have to go through every day. So the services that we will provide through telehealth is so vital because people don't have to come to Clinica Romero. It's with a simple phone call or a video appointment, we can serve and save lives. So I'm hoping that we can count on the votes of Angelinos to support Clinica Romero.
Thank you, Carlos. And definitely, we understand you and your team are on the front lines and appreciate the work that you're doing and wish the best to all of you to stay healthy and safe as you're caring for the community as well. So thank you. So Maria, I'll pose the question to you next, and then Emily, you will be after Maria. So Maria, tell us a little bit about the work that you're doing and, and how COVID has been affecting people people have lost their income and now are thinking that eviction is either on the horizon or maybe not sure what the laws are. There's a lot of confusion out there. Tell us about how you and your team have been navigating your way through this.
So as I mentioned in the pitch, prior to the pandemic, Sage would have in-person tenant clinics and we were always available for phone calls. But now we had to, switch it to mostly Facebook Live because a lot of people use Facebook, a lot of the tenants that we work with, as well as Zoom meetings. So we were also doing classroom presentations. So getting in touch with the schools in the districts or in the communities that we work with. When school was in session, making sure that people are aware. So, and of course, like I said, being available for phone calls, we also did major leaf mail outs as well. So identifying any way, and a lot of it is also word of mouth. So again, like I said, if you know anybody who needs any resources, don't hesitate to contact Sage. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Maria. Wish you and the Sage team all the best, as well as you're doing such great work to help the community. And thank you for that. So Emily, we'll turn over to you. A lot of your work has focused on working with neighborhood councils. Really interesting strategy, and maybe not one that everyone else would have taken, but it seems to be working for you. So can you tell us a little bit about, with all the neighborhood councils in the city, how have you gone about selecting the councils that you've been working with?
Well, first of all, it's really great to be in such wonderful company and so appreciate the work that everyone in this group is doing. Neighborhood councils is just a sort of we have so many of them. They are literally geographically bound, but we also know all of the sort of the laws and the governing structure that works in the city of LA. And so since safe parking programs, how we were envisioning them, were really going to exist in the city of Los Angeles at first, sort of partially doing education generally, and to get people to think in their neighborhood, how do we address homelessness here? It is not about people somewhere else who aren't our neighbors. It is literally our neighbors. It is where we live. It is all the people we care about. And it's trying to embed all of those things in every single neighborhood. And so using the structure of the neighborhood council system, there are now 99 neighborhood councils across the city of LA. And then again, with coalitions, is just reinforcing, what do our neighborhoods look like? Who do they serve? Do they serve us? Do we see each other in our neighborhoods? And so it became a really great pipeline, anything from word of mouth to literally having those conversations in a neighborhood council setting, and having people then call us and say, I was at that neighborhood council meeting. It's been 6 weeks. I have since become homeless. I'm living in my vehicle. Can I come to safe parking? That has happened many, many neighborhood council settings. So it's also really making sure that people know there's something for them literally in their own neighborhood. Now, there aren't 99 safe parking programs across the city, but it is really going to be important to make sure that we get that word out there. There's a way to address homelessness in your neighborhood, and we need to do it.
Thank you, Emily. Well, I'm going to move us along to Dr. Angela Parker from Genesee, and the work that you're doing to help survivors of domestic violence is already complex enough in a non-COVID environment. Can you talk to us a little bit about how overlaying the effects of COVID are affecting the work that you're doing, and how you're able to do that in this current environment?
Yeah, so as you can imagine, we're actually not able, of course, to close our shelters because that's where our families live. And a lot of our staff are essential workers. And so one of the things that we have been trying to do, in addition to making sure that the shelters are safe places, that we're taking temperatures, wiping everything down, making sure they're doing telehealth with their doctors, is we're moving everything online as much as possible, utilizing technology and Zoom so that they can still program with their case managers, do their classes, get all their legal advice, still be able to, see their mental health counselors. Also, I know you guys have been hearing the statistics. The amount of people in need of services has actually increased because of COVID. So as a result, we've had to actually increase the number of hotlines, and we have made relationships with hotels where we are able to house clients there safely and to offer them the types of services that they need. And so it's just basically us doing more of what it is that we do in a way that could kind of ensure, that people are safe and stay as healthy as possible.
Really encouraging to see you embracing what we're going through, and figuring out how to still make it work for the community, and adapting. So thank you for that. And last but not least, Jemiah Hargens, Crop Swap LA. So earlier we talked about some of the work that you're doing and the vision for having this street with 15 gardens. Tell us a little bit about how are you going to go about selecting the street or those 15 families, and give us some insights into that.
Absolutely. So at the core of what we want to do is create an economic transition. That is, we work with low-income families to create an economic opportunity that did not exist beforehand. We operate as a social enterprise. We partner with nonprofits, and we have a fiscal sponsor. So our goal is to create economic value where it didn't exist before, use resources that weren't combined before. I want to really highlight on this COVID question, because in truth, COVID has created two new things for Crop Swap LA. One is it's accentuated the need for better high quality nutrient food locally. And secondly, it's created the urgency for it to happen right now. If it's okay with you, I'm going to briefly share my screen and show everyone the need and the urgency that I saw during COVID. You walk into the grocery store and it's an empty shelf. It's terrifying. And the urgency towards something we could create on the right side. This is an image from somewhere in Switzerland where homes are used intentionally for local agricultural production. They would never have shelves empty. In fact, they may never even shop at the store. So I want to encourage everyone to continue to think widely with us. Yes, we have this street in mind. We have a number of other properties. Crosswalk LA has been offered across LA that we could also try to use. But anything is possible. And we hope to bring a level of awareness and a level of confidence to everyone in LA to say you are in a very specific, temperate zone where you can grow food as often and as frequently as you wish. So we should take advantage of that opportunity.
Well, thanks, Jemiah. It's a great visual to leave us with. So, Leanne, should I be closing us out, or there we go? We'll bring you back to Leanne, but I just want to thank all of our presenters and all of you, the audience, and Leanne, we'll give it to you to close us out today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, James, for hosting today. And a special thank you to all of our wonderful LIVE finalists for sharing about your organizations and about your incredibly impactful proposals. If you're watching, we encourage you to go to challenge.la2050.org now to vote. Remember, your votes determine the final awards that these organizations will receive. Thank you so much and have a good weekend.